Welcome to another episode of the Benchwarmers. I'm Matt, here with my co-host Ryan.
Hey everyone, welcome to the 32nd episode. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Benchwarmers06. Subscribe to our podcast on Google Play Music, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Stitcher, and YouTube.
On today's episode, Ryan and I will be discussing our preview from the NFL and making our picks for each of the divisions, our Rookie of the Year pick, our MVP, and our Super Bowl matchup.
The Benchwarmers.
Alright, let's get into it. The NFL already started yesterday, but before we talk about our predictions, one big news that occurred over the last few days is one of the best defensive players in the league, Khalil Mack, was traded from the Raiders to the Bears. This is shocking news to me, Ryan. I mean, I didn't think that this was going to happen. I thought the Raiders would have figured out something to keep him long term because he's a young player. He's one of the most dominant defensive players in the league. He's once in a generation talent. So it didn't make sense to me why they would even think about trading him. I would give him all the money in the world. But they rather pay Derek Carr, the quarterback, than Khalil Mack. I personally think this is an idiotic move. I don't think I would have done it. I would have kept Mack over Carr all day. I understand a quarterback is important, but Carr isn't that great, clearly. So I find this crazy, and I think this really, really improves the Bears. So, Ryan, what are your thoughts on this trade?
Well, I have to agree with you. I don't think Derek Carr is the answer. But apparently John Gruden does, which is why he made these moves. I don't know if it's, being so far away from coaching that he thought, talked to his people and said, let's get rid of Khalil Mack, one of the, the best defensive players on this team, and, let's just chuck this year. I don't know what the thinking was here. I'm with you on this. This helps the Bears out a lot. I'm not sure, if it's going to push them to a playoff spot this year, but, this definitely helps the Bears out. This will give them definitely a solid, a better defensive team than they already had, and they had a pretty good defense already. But for Oakland, I mean, this just I'm just wondering at all, was getting John Gruden a mistake? Did he have any say in this? Because like you said, I don't really believe in Carr, with what after he did last year and how terrible he was, and two, it's why get rid of this kid being as young as he is.
Yeah, I mean, I know John Gruden's been out of coaching for close to 10 years, but it almost feels like he doesn't know how to manage a team at all. Because I think anyone could figure out that you have to keep the most talented players on your team happy. And if all this guy wanted was some more money, I would give it to him. I thought it was pretty simple. But, well, all I'm going to say is I'm pretty sure the Raiders are not going to be good this year. All right, let's get right into it with our division picks. Starting off with the NFC. Let's start in the NFC East, where the defending champs stay, and my home team, favorite team, the Eagles, is who I picked to repeat in the East. They already played last night against the Falcons, already got their first win. We still got Nick Foles playing quarterback, waiting for Carson Wentz to be healthy and ready to take over at the helm. But I wouldn't want to rush him because he's clearly our future, and I don't mind seeing Foles play a couple games and then let Wentz take over. As long as we win those games, I ain't going to complain. I know yesterday's game was ugly, but at the end of the day, a win's a win. And you keep on moving. So, I mean, I think the Eagles' defense is one of the best in the league. We obviously have talent on the offense, but I'm not going to judge them until Wentz comes back, because really Foles is the bench, and he's going to do what he can. But at the end of the day, the team's not full until Wentz comes back. So, I know the NFC East it's always up for grabs, and there's some talent always there. But I'm gonna stick with my home team, and I hope they repeat.
Shocking, you picked the Eagles.
I wonder who you're gonna pick. Let's go with the shocker there.
Ooh, let's see the shocker here. So since 2005, no team has repeated as the champ in that division. So in our division, the East. So I went with the Cowboys.
Ah,
For that
shocker.
simple fact. For that simple fact, I went with the Cowboys. Listen, the Eagles have added some players to the team. They've gotten some players hurt also on that same team. But looking at it, I mean, they also have somewhat of a easier schedule, I think, out of the division. But you're looking at it as the Giants are garbage. They're going to continue to be garbage. Eli Manning's nothing. The only thing they have is Saquon Barkley, and that kid's going to be phenomenal. Odell Beckham Jr. probably get hurt again. Washington got rid of Cousins to add Alex Smith. Yeah, same quarterback. You're not going to do anything again, so they're useless. So it's really between the Eagles and the Cowboys. And like Matt said, this division is, always a tough division. Two teams make it, sometimes three you've seen, but for the most part, the two teams usually make it, and they are the Cowboys and Eagles most years because they are the two most competitive teams there. So I see Dak coming out more and showing out as an actual quarterback this year. They're going to rely on him more, and I think that he's going to end up bringing them that division title there.
I don't think so, Ryan. I don't even.
I clearly don't. I mean, clearly you went with your reigning champs.
I don't even think. I don't even think the Cowboys will be second. I think they'll be third. I think the Giants are going to come back from last year with, like you.
Eli Manning secretly gets an arm again.
I mean, I'm not going to say Eli Manning is good, but I think that the weapons around him are good enough. I mean, both of us believe Barkley is a talent. Beckham is one of the best receivers in the league. I know there's always the injury concern, but I'm saying if he's healthy, I think he could definitely tear it up. They have what the heck is his other receiver's name? Sterling Shepard. He's another guy who's pretty good. They have the tight end Ingram. I mean, really, if Eli Manning could basically not be an idiot, I honestly think the Giants could be number 2 in the division over the Cowboys just because of the fact that I think they have more weapons, whereas the Cowboys have Dak and Zeke, and I really stopped there. Like, that's all they got. Granted,
they added Hearns. Come on now, don't disrespect Hearns.
I will. What did Allen Hearns ever do in his life?
He had a terrible quarterback and did pretty well for himself down in Jacksonville.
Well, I'm pretty sure Blake Bortles puts up better numbers than Dak.
We'll see about that.
We will. That's what I mean.
I don't really know. He didn't put up that good of numbers. I mean, the reason that his team was so good and made the playoffs is because of their defense.
That's for sure. But I think the same has to happen for the Cowboys. I think their defense has to step up because besides Zeke, I don't have much confidence in their offense. Moving on to the NFC North. Most of these teams are cold weather teams. Ryan, who do you got here?
So I went with the Packers in this one. And I went with the Packers mainly because, Aaron Rodgers got that big extension, the 4-year extension for $135 million, with I'm pretty sure it was a $57.5 million signing bonus. So in my head, that's going to push him above everybody in the North. He's going to prove himself more. He's going to prove he's worth that kind of money. He's going to come out there and show out. Plus, like I said, you have the Bears at division. You have the Vikings who got rid of Case Keenum, which I'm still trying to figure out. So, in the end, I feel like Rodgers, he's been consistent in that division. He's been a great quarterback his whole career. And, I think he's going to just continue his route. And like I said, with that extension, I think he's going to shut down that entire division with ease.
I have nothing but respect for Mr. Rodgers. I think he is the most talented quarterback in the league that we have. I just question his weapons around him. Since the departure of Jordy Nelson, I don't know who's going to be that connection for him. I mean, granted, Randall Cobb is a good player, and they got a few other guys who are decent, and they have Jimmy Graham, but I don't know. I guess we'll see. I think they're definitely good, but I don't know if they'll have the record for the division win. And who I think is going to win the division is the Minnesota Vikings. They went to the NFC Championship last year. They got rid of the quarterback, which is baffling, kind of, because you don't expect the team that does so well to get rid of their quarterback. But they believe that Kirk Cousins is their answer, which I think that their defense is so good. Another defense is top 3 in the league. I think their running back Dalvin Cook is going to have a great year, and they have 2 of the best receivers. I would say probably the best receiving core duo in Thielen and Diggs. Honestly, I don't think Cousins even need to do much. Honestly, like I mentioned with Eli, just don't be an idiot. That's basically his job. He just basically needs to limit his turnovers and hand the ball to Cook, get the ball to Thielen and Diggs. The job's easy. I think he'll be just fine as long as he doesn't turn the ball over, and I think that's all the Vikings need to win the division. I think that team is talented from offense and defense. I don't think the quarterback really matters like last year. Case Keenum isn't some great talent, but he was good enough for that team to do well, and I think Cousins is no different. Really, just an basically average, barely above average quarterback is going to do just fine with that team. Going out west, I have the LA Rams winning this division. I think that this is one of the most stacked teams I've seen in a while. Gurley got paid. They got Brandon Cooks. They got Robert Woods. They got who else do they have? They have another receiver I think is pretty good. Can't remember his name. But they basically picked up a defensive Hall of Fame. They got Sue, Aqib Talib. They basically picked up everybody you could possibly think of. My only question mark for this team is I hope the coach, Sean McVay, could handle all these egos, because there's a lot of guys who here, that you need to kind of, get in check. But if he does do that, this team obviously has a lot of talent. So I think that's kind of the reason why I'm picking them. I'm picking them on their talent. And I'm not sure how their chemistry is going to work out. But if it does work out, I think this team is going to have a great season. And that's why I picked them to win this division. Ryan, who do you have in this division?
So, with no respect to the Rams, they were a really good team last year. And, they put up. But, I'm going to go, and it's definitely not the Seattle Seahawks, I'll tell you that now. I'm going to go with Garoppolo and the 49ers here. He did a great job with these guys at the end of last year. So coming in this year, he's coming off of a high. I think he's going to still be a solid quarterback. I'm not saying, he's going to be a phenomenal quarterback and they're going to go undefeated. That's not what I'm saying here. But I still think, as I already told you, if you remember last week, I think he's still an overrated quarterback for fantasy as well. But I think he'll have a solid number, and I think it'll be enough to do the job to get them there. He has Garcon as a weapon, but you have Matt Breida that I was talking about with the running back, along with Alfred Morris back there. So they've got, weapons and guys that can run in and out and hand the ball to. You got Goodwin also out in the wide receiver. So they've got a solid lineup on the front end where Garoppolo, who definitely is a decent quarterback, can do a lot with this team, and I feel like he's gonna bring it out of them as he showed at the end of last year. He doesn't seem like he's a joke of a quarterback. He's gonna continue that pattern into this year and take out the Rams and take the West this year.
My only reason why I'm very hesitant about the 49ers is because I thought Jerick McKinnon was going to be one of their key weapons, and he just tore his ACL last week. I think this really hurts them, and I know you just mentioned their running backs and Breida and Alfred Morris. I mean, Breida was your sleeper, I believe, in fantasy.
He was. You're right. Breida was my sleeper, and he didn't have to wait for McKinnon to blow it. McKinnon ended up blowing his ACL. Sorry to hear that. I don't wish that upon anybody. That's what I'm saying there. But I think that Breida has Breida has that momentum that he's gonna prove to them.
Yeah, I mean, he could be good, which, I'm not saying he's not. I just don't know if he could carry that total workload. And I think Alfred Morris now is pretty washed up. He had those couple good seasons in Washington years ago. I just think now he's washed up. So I don't know. I mean, hopefully Breida, like you said, might do well. I just don't have much confidence in Alfred Morris nowadays.
I think they'll use Morris more as a, when they need to, just to give Breida some rest, to give him a couple runs here and there.
Moving on to the NFC South, the last division in the NFC. This division usually, you don't know what the heck goes on. There's basically every team in this division has a chance to win. Ryan, who's your pick in this one?
So, you're right. This is definitely one of those divisions, just like the East is. And they got some solid teams there. I mean, all these teams minus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers really have a chance. Although your Eagles did beat the Falcons last night, which is another team in the NFC South. But that was not my pick either. I went with the New Orleans Saints and Drew Brees, who they also got a backup quarterback in Teddy Bridgewater in the preseason. They just picked him up as well before the season had actually got underway. So they also have a decent backup quarterback there that can take the spot if something was to happen to Brees. But, you have Alvin Kamara, who is a phenomenal running back. You got the wide receiver in Thomas and Tegwin Jr. They got, Watson at the tight end. Brees has, a lot of people he can throw to, as well as, he has the running game. And this team, they got an okay defense. It's not phenomenal, but it's not terrible by any means. Definitely in this division, it's a decent team. But with Brees, he has some weapons. He has more weapons out there than some other quarterbacks in this one. That I think he can take this team to the NFC South title.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Saints are definitely be a team that's going to be competing for that division. They obviously have, like Ryan mentioned, a bunch of weapons. My pick for this division, unfortunately, lost yesterday, but they lost the Eagles, so I don't feel so bad. Is the Atlanta Falcons. A couple of issues that I saw yesterday in watching them play. Their red zone offense is atrocious. I really hope they step that up, because for whatever reason they can move the ball with ease from red zone to red zone, but once you get inside that 20, they just can't score a touchdown. So I'm confused by that, because I mean, they obviously have talent with Freeman, Coleman, Julio, Sanu, Calvin Ridley. I mean, they have the weapons to score, but for whatever reason they just didn't do it yesterday. I mean, I'm going to assume that's because the Eagles defense is a stout defense, but it's not just yesterday. It's been going on for a while. And I believe in the last two seasons, when Matt Ryan threw the ball to Julio in the red zone, they're 1 for 20. That's 5%. That's god awful. And that's one of the best receivers in the league, and he has that bad of a percentage with him in the red zone. So that's not, I'm obviously picking them, but I'm picking them with hesitation, because I mean, this division, I think it could be anybody. That's how. Besides the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers will not win this division. All right, I'm going to put that out there. They will not. They'll be the worst team in the division. But the Saints, Falcons, and Panthers, all three of them have a pretty decent chance of winning this division. Ryan picked the Saints. I picked the Falcons. For all we know, the Panthers might win the division. So I'll leave it at that.
All right, so let's get into the AFC. So in the AFC East, unfortunately, I mean, unless Tannehill comes back and can do something with Miami, I can't pick anybody else in this division but the Patriots. I mean, the Patriots have been the top team based in this division seems like for forever. But I mean, the division doesn't have anybody. I mean, the Dolphins, the Bills, the Jets. The Jets have been a joke for forever. The Bills have been subpar. The Dolphins with Tannehill have, had a chance here and there, but I don't see it happening this year. I just don't. I mean, unless somehow Brady lost his arm completely, there's no way that the Patriots should not repeat as the champs of the AFC East here, in my head. What about you, Matt?
Yeah, there's only a few guarantees in life: death, taxes, and the Patriots win the AFC East. Like Ryan mentioned, unless Tom Brady blows up, like physically, I almost can't not pick them. But even if he does get hurt, I feel like the Patriots are one of those teams they could stick in Ryan as quarterback and they'll still go win the AFC East. It's the Patriots.
I'll take that money.
I'm just saying, Bill Belichick is such a great coach, and that division's so god awful, like Ryan mentioned, that it's like it doesn't matter. You could put, Tom Brady's a legend, I get it, but like if you put in, Joe Schmo as quarterback, they'll just figure something out. Either the running backs will go off, or the defense will start scoring touchdowns. I don't know. I'm just saying that's how weak the AFC East is. Like Ryan mentioned, I don't have any kind of confidence in anyone in that division. The Jets, awful. Bills are just dumb. Who's the other? Dolphins? Yeah. No, I don't even know who they have. So, yeah, this is a joke of a division. I mean, as long as Tom Brady and Bill Belichick are there, I'm not going to pick against them in this division.
So we move on to the AFC North, and who do you have here coming out of the AFC North, Matt?
I have the Cleveland Browns. Just kidding. I have.
Oh wow, you really want that alcohol? They're gonna win every game, huh?
I'm going with the Pittsburgh Steelers. This pick is dependent on Mr. Le'Veon Bell coming back and playing, because if he doesn't, I don't know how this is gonna work out. But if Bell does,
so you're saying if he doesn't come back, you should go with the Browns? Is that what I'm hearing?
Let's go Cleveland. As we know, Bell, Antonio Brown are the two big key weapons on this team. They are arguably the best receiver and running back in the game. They have other receivers they're pretty good in Juju, and I forget the other guy's name. Big Ben is my big question mark here. He is getting up there in age. I feel like he's guaranteed to get hurt at some point. He always thinks about retiring at the end of each season. I don't know how much more he has in him, but I think he has enough. He doesn't need to do too much for this team because they're so good. But if Bell doesn't come back, I don't know what's going to happen. Even though I think their backup running back, James Conner, I think he's very talented. I think he'll do just fine as their if in Bell's absence. I just don't think I think he's not as good as Bell, but I think he'll put just enough production in there that the Steelers will do just fine. But I think they're definitely going to hurt if Bell doesn't show up. So
for all the reasons up and down that Matt had mentioned, not in disrespect to the Steelers and your pick here, I agree with you with Brown and the if of Bell. But my biggest reason as to why I did not pick the Steelers was because of what you said. Ben Roethlisberger is a big question mark. He's definitely due for an injury. He's always contemplating retirement, like you said. So I couldn't go with him with the Steelers here. Too many ends in this. I saw sort of towards the end of the season he was sort of iffy. So I went with Andy Dalton and the Cincinnati Bengals.
Boo.
Here. I think they've got some solid weapons. I mean, you got AJ Green and Brandon LaFell at the wide receivers, and you got Everett at the tight end.
Wait, they have Brandon LaFell? Are you sure?
Yeah, they have Brandon LaFell. He's their number 2 wide receiver.
And his name is Tyler Eifert. At least get his name right.
Eifert, whatever. Listen, they got some tight end dude. Who's solid. I mean, I've seen him play before. I can't say his name, but that's nothing new for me. And you got, you got Joe Mixon and Giovanni Bernard.
Yeah, you did it.
Right? Say that one right for you, Matt. Hey, look, woohoo! No, but you got those two at the running back. That I think this team has, they have a young quarterback who isn't that bad of a quarterback, and no, he isn't. Listen, don't hate on my quarterback, all right? Just because your guy's gonna end up dying halfway through the season,
two-time Super Bowl champion.
Don't hate on my pick,
even if he dies.
Don't hate on my pick. I just think that I think Dalton's coming together more, and this team has some nice weapons for him to throw to. That I think that the Bengals can just edge out the Steelers in this one, because I don't see anybody else. Again, with Bell not coming back, still this is a division where I don't think the Ravens are that good at all this year, and I don't think listen, unless the Browns turn around and surprise everybody. I mean, listen, it is what it is at that point. If the Browns do it, hey, congratulations to the Cleveland Browns, who couldn't win a single game last year.
I have zero confidence in Andy Dalton. I think he's utter trash. I honestly think that if you switch out Andy Dalton for Nick Foles, they'll be better. That's how much disrespect I have for Mr. Andy Dalton. I think he's horrible.
You're giving a lot of credit to Nick Foles.
Hey, Super Bowl champion Nick Foles. All right, just let's not forget that.
Was he MVP
exactly.
as well?
What has Andy Dalton ever done in the NFL? That's right. Do nothing in the playoffs. Choke like usual.
Oh, he's
no argument, huh? There you go.
That happens.
There you go.
That happens. That happens. That happens, But I think as this division, there's really nobody else. So Steelers are overrated. Time for them to fall off.
I'm not saying they aren't overrated. I think the Bengals are not shouldn't even be rated.
Oh, wow. So you really are thinking that if the Steelers can't do it, the Browns
yes.
are the only other team at the
yes.
division?
Tyrod Taylor and Jarvis Landry will take that team to the promised land.
I do like Taylor. I'm not going to hate on Taylor. I do like him a lot. And I was contemplating that pick. I don't know if they have really any weapon right now. So we'll see how.
I just don't get why the Bengals have the same coach for like 15 years and they haven't won anything. Why do they have the same coach? Someone tell me this. Someone, anyone. You could tweet us, please. Tell me why. Why do they have?
Tell us. I mean, we've seen coaches with who make the playoffs and get fired, for Christ's sakes, all the time. I mean,
Marvin Lewis.
In any sport.
Marvin Lewis has been the coach of the Bengals since I was in middle school, and they've yet to win like a playoff game. Someone tell me this, because I'm still baffled. That's all.
Maybe this is the year they do it. That's all I'm saying.
I guarantee you they won't. But, hey, maybe year 16 is the answer for Marvin Lewis. I don't know.
All right. So let's get into the AFC West here. And, look at this AFC West. They've had some changes. And I went with the one who made the quarterback change in Kansas City. Not that I have much hope for Mahomes as a quarterback. I just don't think really any other team in this division is really good. He also has the weapons. He has Watkins. He has Tyreek Hill. He's got those guys. He's got Kareem Hunt, who's a fantastic running back, which is why I think, and he's got Kelsey at the tight end, but I don't see Mahomes using Kelsey that much. Only because he likes to throw the ball more, which is why you have Tyreek Hill and Watkins to throw to. So I just think with the running back that they have and the two wideouts and the way this guy likes to throw the ball and the division being, well, in my opinion, basically garbage now, that there's really no other choice but to go with Kansas City. That's what I'm going to tell you, Matt. No other choice.
Well, I'm going to argue with you here because I believe the AFC West is a pretty difficult division. I respect the Chiefs. I think they're a good team, like Ryan mentioned. I think Mahomes will be fine. I mean, he's a young quarterback. I don't really expect him to light the world on fire. But his rookie year, or not rookie year, second year, but first year starting. I think he'll be okay. And like Ryan mentioned, they have a good team. So I have nothing but respect for the Chiefs. I think the Broncos are going to be decent. They have talent too. They also have a quarterback change because they have Case Keenum as their quarterback. I think they'll be fine. My pick is going to be the LA Chargers, led by Phillip Rivers, who the guy keeps going, man. Like, I feel like he's been in the league since 2004, and he just keeps on churning out great seasons.
How you gonna talk about Dalton and then just pick the Chargers? Get the hell out of here.
Who? What? Once again, tell me when the Bengals did anything. Just tell me.
Tell me the Chargers did anything. Phil Bird blew the damn time last year. The team was terrible because of him. Get out of here.
They almost made the playoffs.
Yeah, almost, but didn't because why? Rivers sucks.
Well, also Keenan Allen got hurt, who is his best weapon. But yeah, that's what I thought. Keenan Allen's back. They have Mike Williams coming back, the rookie who got hurt last year, who didn't get to play. Another talented receiver, running back Melvin Gordon, who I think is he's a very good running back. Their tight end Hunter Henry is out, but guess who's coming back? The guy who continues to play. He's like 85 years old. Antonio Gates, he's back. Not really sure why he's back.
My God, he still hasn't retired?
Exactly. I was shocked too when I saw that. I was like, whew, this guy. All right, but yeah. I think the Chargers are going to win the division, but I think the Chargers, Chiefs, Broncos, all are going to vie a pretty decent chance to win the division. Who's the fourth team in this damn division?
The Raiders. How could you forget the John Gruden Raiders?
Raiders are not going to win, like we mentioned. They got rid of Khalil Mack. I don't expect him to do anything. So I think that's a team like the Buccaneers in the NFC South where I expect them not to do anything and be last. But the other three teams, I think they'll definitely be competitive. And I won't be shocked if the Broncos win or the Chiefs win, but I think the Chargers have just as good a chance based on talent.
So for the last AFC division, let's talk about the South. And who you got here?
I'm going to go with the Houston Texans. I think with the comeback of Deshaun Watson, who had a great year until he got hurt last year, I think as long as he's 100% healthy, I think he's going to continue his success. They have Hopkins as their number one receiver, who I think is one of the best in the league. You got Will Fuller, who's a great deep threat. The running backs are questionable with Lamar Miller, but I think their defense, led by Mr. J.J. Watt, is going to be one of the best in the league. I think this team is young, but I think this is where they start their comeuppance in the division, and I think that's why I'm going to pick Houston to win the division.
So I respect the Texans a lot. I like them as a team. For all the reasons that you have them, I just don't think that because they're a young team, I think that they won't do that. I have no faith, obviously, in the Jaguars because I have no faith in Blake Bortles at all. I've completely flipped my opinion of how good he was earlier to he's just trash, and this team will continue to be trash. Look, because their defense is a great defense. I'm not taking that away from them. I just think that, my pick is the Indianapolis Colts. Now, I make this pick, and I am stretching extremely hard here because I am believing in Luck coming back from his injury, and he has something to prove, and I think he's going to do it this year. This is his year to come back and prove what he has. His wide receivers are okay. I mean, he's got Hilton, who's just getting up there in age. You got Ryan Grant. They do run two tight ends with Doyle and Ebron, and then they got a plethora of running backs. That I think.
Do they have a plethora of running backs?
They all can just. They got like 4 or 5 running backs. They basically run. Mack, Turbin, Ferguson, Hines.
You're reading off the internet.
4 of them. Damn straight I'm reading off the internet. And no idea who these kids are. But they're doing the running back situation. It's the same way the Patriots have done in years, the way the Eagles did last year. Just keep switching them in and out. And I think that's their goal this year is to run it that way. That I think it will just help give each of these kids some slack, and it'll give Luck. Like I said, I think Luck's coming out. He's gunning for somebody, so he wants to prove he still has what it takes, and I think he will be able to take this team really, really far this year.
Yeah, I mean, I have a luck in a couple of my fantasy leagues, so I hope he does well. But I think he's going to be rusty in the beginning because he obviously hasn't played in a while. So I think it's going to take him some time to get into that NFL feel. But I think you definitely could be right. I mean, I think they definitely could be a decent team, and as long as he's not rusty, I think that team will be just fine. Because I think before he got hurt, I mean, I'm pretty sure they went to the playoffs. But yeah, I mean, I think both the Texans and the Colts have both a pretty good shot at this division.
Oh yeah, and I picked him in all of my fantasy leagues, so I really hope he does great. So let's get into Rookie of the Year. Let's start off there with the award. As I mentioned earlier, I really the Giants really only have one person, and that's Saquon Barkley, and for that simple reason, and the fact that he was phenomenal in college, and I think he's going to do just as great in the NFL. That's why I'm picking him as my Rookie of the Year, and I'm talking about none other than Mr. Saquon Barkley. I just think this kid's going to, like I said earlier, I think he's going to prove it. He's going to come out and show it. I think Giants will be terrible, but I think he's going to be, fantastic for that team, and be that guy. He's going to be like the Ezekiel Elliott for the Cowboys his first year. This kid's going to just blow up, and he's going to prove, he has what it takes to be here.
Well, Ryan, looks like we're in agreement. I also believe Saquon Barkley is going to be Rookie of the Year. I read in an article earlier today that even though he's coming off that hamstring injury, they expect to feed him a bunch of times. And you know what? I don't blame him. He's definitely a player that I would try to get him the ball as much as I can. I think we already talked about this last episode. I mean, we believe he's a great talent. And him and Beckham are basically the only guys I kind of and Shepard are the guys that I have the utmost confidence in the Giants. So I would try to feed them as much as I can. I think because of that, Saquon will have all the opportunities to put up numbers and hence win Rookie of the Year.
Well, it's nice that we seem to agree sometimes here and there. So let's see if we agree on MVPs. Who do you have?
I went with the guy who I said who's the most talented quarterback in the NFL, and I'm talking about none other than Mr. Nick Foles. Just kidding. Aaron Rodgers, the Green Bay Packers. This guy, if he's not hurt, when he's on the field, he produces. I picked the Packers I know they don't. I'd pick him to win the division, but I think he's going to at least take them to the playoffs. He'll get that wild card spot, and I think he'll have a great season. I think he's going to put up 40 touchdowns at least. I wonder who he's going to be his number one receiver now once Jordy left, but I'm sure he'll figure it out. He'll spread it out if he has to. He's one of those guys who makes people around him better. So I think Aaron Rodgers is going MVP.
So, I respect that pick there. It definitely was one of my, top thoughts there. And, he has Cobb to throw to and a few others, and he does like to spread the ball around. But I did not choose him. So I went with another great quarterback, and I am definitely not talking about Nick Foles. I am talking about Drew Brees. I think he is, he's out to prove something this year. I think he's going to, just put up phenomenal numbers this year and just outdo every quarterback and just anybody really. And he's gonna be he's out for blood. He's out to make it to the championship. He's out there to win it. And I think if any year this is the year where he's got to prove it because he's only getting older now. But yeah, he still has some good weapons there, and I did pick them to win the division. And I think that if anyone can do it, it's going to be Mr. Brees.
Yeah, I don't know about that pick, Ryan. I think that's not a smart one, only because I'm not saying he's not good. It's more of the way that their offense is shifting towards. It's more of a balanced attack, whereas before, earlier in Drew Brees' tenure in New Orleans, he was basically the key cog because he was passing for over 5,000 yards every year. Whereas now they're trying to be more balanced because of the fact they got Ingram and Kamara Now, they have a great running game, so they don't need to go 100% on the passing game, which I think it helps Drew Brees in the long run because he doesn't need to do much, but I think that kind of hurts him from the MVP race because of the fact that the team's balanced enough and good enough that he doesn't need to do too much. I'm not saying he's not going to do well, I just don't think he's going to be too important to the team where you could give him MVP.
Fair point. I don't disagree with that. I just think that somehow he's gonna get that. He's gonna get them to get him to throw the ball more, just so they don't have to run it as much and give him the opportunity to get up there. So let's jump into our Super Bowl picks here. So I'm going with I picked Drew Brees as my MVP, and I think he's going to be one of the reasons that they get to the Super Bowl. So the Saints is my first choice out of the NFC. And my AFC team is the Miami Dolphins. No. Although it's pretty much a stretch here, too. I believe in Andrew Luck so much that I think he's taking this team to the Super Bowl this year. Yes, I said the Super Bowl. This is a reach, a big reach. I've made some reaches in this podcast before. This is not my worst one, but this is one I believe in Luck, and I believe if he wants to come back and do it, this is the year he'll do it. Hey, listen, you got to, you got to. I said it for a reason. So I think it's going to be the Saints versus the Colts. It's going to be a strange one to not see the Patriots in there. For Patriots fans, I will enjoy every simple fact that the Patriots won't be in it. But it's just, this is what I see.
Yeah, I don't know about this one, Ryan. The Saints, okay, I get it. Colts, I don't know. I just don't see them going to the Super Bowl. But, you've made crazier picks, i.e. the Miami Marlins win the division. But
you had to bring it up, did you? I was just saying there were worst picks I've made. You had to bring up the exact pick I was talking about, really? Come on now.
The people need to know. My Super Bowl prediction, also, I went with my MVP pick, Rodgers and the Packers from the NFC. And my AFC pick, I didn't want to pick the Patriots, so I went with Pittsburgh. But like I mentioned when I picked the Steelers to win the division, this is all dependent on Mr. Le'Veon Bell coming back. I think with Bell, they have the ultimate talent to do so to get here. But if Bell doesn't play, then I reserve the right to change my pick.
Nope, I will not allow it. This is who you're picking. It's who you're stuck with. All right, on the hot topics. So, last week's podcast was about the NCAA. And, there were some upsets. One was Miami losing to LSU 33-17. That took Miami out of the top 10 completely. Another one, wasn't an upset, but almost. Penn State almost lost their first game to God knows
Appalachian
or whatever. Yeah, some random team, like they straight up almost dropped the ball completely, and they were beating them going into that fourth quarter. I don't know. They must have all been asleep. But the big game that me and Matt were talking about, and that was the Auburn versus Washington game. And it was a great game, like we had hoped and we predicted and we thought was going to happen. And, I was hoping for Washington, but they didn't pull it out. Auburn did end up beating them 21-16, but it was a close game. It was a great game. And all it did was take Washington, put them to the 11, not top 10, but they're still up there. So, I think that, like we had talked about last time, this just gets, Washington, that respect sort of, if they do end up winning at the rest of the season possibly, that, hey, listen, they only lost to Auburn by very little points here. 5 points is not a lot. That could give them an edge later on. So let's get into some key games that I thought were noteworthy for this week. One is number 10 Stanford going up against number 17 USC. And number 3 Georgia going up against 24 in South Carolina. Those are our two big games. Stanford definitely wants to stay in that top 10, so they're going to push for that. And I believe that they can beat USC. I don't really think I think Georgia's going to beat South Carolina solidly. I don't think it's going to be a crazy one, but I think they'll beat them definitely pretty good. That I'm not seeing that as a big as a possible loss for Georgia. Georgia does look pretty good still, but anything can happen. And then the other game is none other than Penn State and going up against Pittsburgh. This is going to be a test because of how bad Penn State looked last week. They've got to come out and actually play the game and not sleep at all, because Pittsburgh is no joke. Yeah, they're not a ranked team, but Pittsburgh is still a very good team to go up against. They're not a no-name school like Appalachian. They are, they're a well-known team all the way around, in college football and basketball. I mean, not well as known as they are in basketball, but, they're still a good team that Penn State can't sleep on this one. Their poor performance last week definitely hurt them in the poll ratings. So they've got to come out and prove, there's a reason that they were ranked so high early in the season, and we will wait to see if Penn State drops the ball or comes out on top here.
Yeah, the main games that you picked for this week, I think they all are games that are must watch. The Stanford game against USC, I mean, Bryce Love was my Heisman pick, and he did not have a great first week. He actually was pretty bad. So I'm hoping he bounces back here against USC, because I think that would be definitely important. Because if he could come back against a big team like USC, I think it'll help him to kind of counter his bad week last week. Georgia, South Carolina, like Ryan mentioned, we expect Georgia to win here, but I think it's going to be a little bit closer than expected, only because the game's in South Carolina. So I think the home factor for South Carolina will help them. But I mean, like Ryan mentioned, I don't expect them to Georgia to lose here. So I expect them to win, but I think it's going to be. I won't be surprised if it's only by a touchdown. And Penn State Pitt, basically, I'm gonna agree with what Ryan said. This is only important because of the fact that Penn State played so poorly against Appalachian State last week, and now this is Pittsburgh. This is not Appalachian State. This is a team that's is somewhat decent and more respectable. So you can't just show up and think they're going to win like they did last week. If you play as poorly as you did last week, they will definitely lose. So that's why I think that's one of the main reasons why Ryan and I chose this game to be one of the top ones to watch this week. Only because if Penn State plays like we expect them to play, it should be a blowout. But if they play like they did last week, it won't. It's going to be close, and it won't look good for Penn State in the long run when it comes to the rankings. On to my hot topic for this week. This is about the Nike 30-year Just Do It campaign, and they chose Colin Kaepernick as their main spokesperson, which is interesting only because of the fact that Colin Kaepernick nowadays is known for his kneeling on NFL games, and the fact that he's basically been blackballed from the NFL. And I think this is important because of the fact that Colin clearly has still a very high platform, and the fact that Nike chose him could probably be twofold. One, they support his stance, but also trying to market him and make money off of him because they know that people support him. But I've seen people who clearly are against this and basically burning their Nike gear, which I don't know why. I mean, I don't know how you could argue against Colin Kaepernick's stance, because he's just, basically supporting injustice in the world, which is not a bad thing. But because he's Colin Kaepernick, they're kind of against it, and because Nike's, basically sponsoring him, they want to get rid of all their Nike gear. And I don't think burning it is the right idea. Maybe they should just donate it. So Colin Kaepernick as a Nike Just Do It spokesperson, I have no issue with this. I think it's good that Colin still has a platform, and he should be able to talk about his stance on injustice.
So I agree with Matt here. I respect what Colin Kaepernick was kneeling for and standing up for. and the extent that people, I mean, this is causing fights from what I've heard. I did hear Missouri College drop Nike as their sponsor, but really that's not that much of a shocker. It's the middle of nowhere, and they like to support what they like to support, and I'll leave it at that. So but it's just like Matt said, donate it. Why are you burning stuff? Donate it. All because of what? Because he knelt for something he believed in, and it wasn't anything to disrespect troops or anything like that, which is what a lot of people still to this day are saying it's about, and that's what it's about, but that's never what it was about. But you have the hard-headed people out there. Like I said, we'd never like to be political about this, but that's basically what the synopsis of this is it's one thing versus another thing, and what people see, but what it actually is for. And like Matt said, I respect the fact that he still has his platform, and someone like Nike is letting him do it. I've heard it's hurt sales. I've heard it's helped sales. But in the end, I respect the fact that they're giving him a chance to still be on that platform and show he still stands for something, and it means something, and it wasn't all for nothing at the end of the day.
Well, that's all we have for this week's episode of the Benchwarmers. Once again, follow us on Twitter at Benchwarmer06. You can subscribe to our podcast on Google Play, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Stitcher, and YouTube. See you guys next week.
The Benchwarmers.